Recording has started.
Sure, let's get started. So I'm sharing my screen. Uh, yeah. Majorly in yesterday's session, right? So we have seen the different UI options which are available, right? So UI options in the project menu, right? Maybe switching the version, manage your version, switching the project, giving access to the users. On the admin side, we have seen the different options like downloading the server log, user configuration, restarting the server, managing the database driver, right? uh, then managing your backups and all, correct? And similarly help, there are uh, uh, options related to getting the help. Okay, and then we know that what are the properties are now available at the orchestration job, and what kind of properties are available at the transformation job, right? And then these are the different options which are available um, at the project level or the in the project menu, right? We have also seen how can we transform the data once the data is in the Snowflake. So we have taken an example where we are reading data from SAP people table. So this is the table which we have loaded as a part of our orchestration job from S3 to Snowflake, right? Then we are doing some filtering out. Then we are using the calculator component, and then we are um, uh, inserting into the dim people, right? We can use any other components as well here, whatever we feel. Let's say if we need to use the distinct, right? So we can use that distinct component here, right? I need to get the distinct based on all. I can do that as well, correct? And there are different functions that we can use. If you want to rename something, some column, we can use that. We can also use the SQL script component as well. So we'll see that in later part. Okay. Now, we'll just today walk you through first some of the development guidelines. So now these are the guidelines that we have already seen, but I will just read it out so that you can relate these. Okay. So so regarding the development guidelines, so what Matillion says is that get the external data from the different sources, right, to Snowflake using available connectors in Matillion. Right? So that means when we create orchestration job, and if we need to get the data from an external sources, right? Then you can get the data using the connectors available in Matillion, right? Then apply the power of Snowflake SQL and built-in functions to transform the data to create data marts and data warehouse with the easiness of Matillion ETL, right? So once the data is in Snowflake, then you can you can use the different SQL functions, the components which are available at transformation job, to populate the data in data marts in fact and dimensions, right? Then try to use the variables to parameterize your workflows and pipeline, right? So the way we have used the environmental variables or the global variables, right? We can try to use the variables wherever possible. Then we have seen, yes, we should have a separate instances for dev, QA, UAT as one, and the production as different, or dev QA as one, then UAT and then production. Okay. uh, then create project versions to have independence workspace for each team member, right? So if there are multiple team members and all are like working on the same project, we can have the multiple versions within the same project, right? Then integrate your project with Git to manage your code repository and migrating your jobs from one environment to another environment. So we'll see this, how can we do that in later part. Then set job dependency internally within the job in Matillion. Okay, so as I said, so in the scheduler of Matillion, we cannot set a job dependency. Okay, so we can set the job dependency within the Matillion only. Okay, then you can use Matillion's built-in scheduler to schedule your jobs in your different time zones. Okay, um, about the another thing usually so in real-time project, right? So nowadays. Um, so uh, uh, so many of these cloud data warehouse projects, so they are now using the you can say uh, data replications tool like HVR. Okay. So earlier, if you see what used to happen, let's say on a Hadoop based platform, right? So we used to write the scoop scripts, correct? So scoop script, or if we use Talend to get the data from any source, right? So that there we used to write the our right we used to pull the data, correct? So that is a pull based approach, right? And with that pull based approach, there are chances of missing the data, okay? And as you know that for any data house, the source data is pretty much important, right? Like having the correct source data. Nowadays, what companies are preferring, they are preferring for a push based approach. So what does that mean is they, instead of pulling the data from source, they are asking source to push the data to Snowflake, okay? So let's say the HVR, that is high volume replication. So that is a one tool, okay? Just like in Oracle Golden Gate, right? So that reads the logs of a database, and based on the logs, whether it's an insert, update, or delete, right? It pushes down that data to Snowflake. Okay, so that's also another approach that companies are following now. Now about the important feature walkthrough, yes, so we have already seen that. We have seen the component properties in orchestration transformation job, task and notices panel. We can see how can we create a job node and how it is useful. Then we also seen the Matillion's ELT approach, right? So how exactly the Matillion does an ELT operations, correct? And then the next part is built-in or automatic variables in Matillion. So just like any other tool, right? So Matlin also provide the its built-in variables. Okay, and those are accessible without any defining. We don't need to define anywhere. So these are internal variables, you can say. So we have variables. Let's say if you need to get the project name, right? So we can access that using the project underscore name. Okay. So if you remember, the way we have accessed the run ID.
Nitin, small request. So in
Mhm.
between, I lost the connection. Can you please start? So what is the push-based approach?
Okay, okay, okay. Sure, sure,
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, I will start that.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure, sure, no issues. Yes, just for that, so this is how we need to access the variable, right? So if you remember in the dim people when we developed that job, we had used this is a built-in variable, right? Run history ID. So similarly, we can access other variables as well. Okay. So on the push-based approach, as I said, like earlier, what we used to do is we used to pull the data from the source database. Like let's say if we have a Hadoop platform, then you know that the Hadoop uses the scoop script, correct? And let's say if you are using Talent and you need to get the data from any database, right? So we used to write the component, or like drag and drop the component and connect to that database and pull the data. So in that pull-based approach, there might be a possibility that we may miss the data, right? So now what organizations are preferring for their majority of data sources, right? So when I says the majority of data source, that means their major databases where all their transactional tables are present. For these kind of data, they are using the push-based approach, okay, and they are trying to use the different replication tools, right? So let's say we have that Oracle Golden Gate or an HVR as a tool, right? So in push-based approach, what happens exactly is the source database itself pushes down the data to Snowflake. Okay, we're not pulling it out by writing any SQL query. Okay, your source database itself is pushing down the data to Snowflake. Okay, and how does it do that is um, uh, basically it just reads the logs file of the database. Okay, like as you know, right? So each and every transactional database has their log file, and whatever the DML operations happens, those are getting stored in the log file, right? So the tool like HVR, so it will read the log file, and it will push down the record to Snowflake. Okay, so there are very minimal chance of missing the data, or okay, missing the data at our end. Clear? Yeah. Okay. Now, So I was talking about the built-in variables, right? So as I said, there are different, internal or built-in variables which Matillion provides, right? So we have the, like, if you need to get the project name, you can get the project name. If you need to have the project ID, you can have that project ID. Okay, if you need to get the version name, we can have that as well, right? So similarly, environment name. So environment name is nothing but the name, this name, okay? Okay, with which we have created that environment. Then the job name is obvious. So job name will contain the name of that particular job. Okay, the job ID will contain the name of that particular job ID. Okay, similarly we can get the component ID as well and the run history ID. Okay, so how can we access? As I said, as we have seen earlier, that dollar open curly braces, variable name and close curly braces. Okay, so like that we can access any of the variable in Matillion, and these are all like internal variables within the Matillion. Okay, so we don't need to remember them, so we can get that variables uh, on in Matillion website. Okay, we go to variables. That, yeah, so if you go to environmental variables, right? Because if you see, these are globally available, right? So these are kind of environmental variables, but these are internal variables, you can say. So you can get the all these variable names here. Okay. If you want to have this link, let me ping you in the chat. Okay. Now, so the next topic is variables in Matillion. So the environmental variables we have already seen, right? So we have created the environmental variables for, let's say, to have the database name, the schema name, or S3 bucket name, like that, right? Uh, so next thing that we have is a job variable. Okay. Uh, so now here first we'll try to understand the difference, right? So if you see, as I said earlier, the environmental variable is a kind of global variable, right? So it is available for all of the jobs within the project. Okay. However, the job variables, these are kind of the job specific variable. Okay, so these will be available only for that particular job. So these are created or defined at the job level. Okay, so job variable, so you can see it is scalar variable that holds a single value. Okay, the scope is limited to a single job and can be defined as a copied or shared. So we'll see how exactly the copied and shared work. But yeah, so you can create the job variable, let's say for date and anything, right? So they have just shown some example here. Okay, now what we'll do, let's try like how can we use a job variable? Okay, or how can we create the job variables? Okay, let me just create a copy of that. This job, what happened? So I'm saying JV, that is job variable. Okay, um, now so. Um, let's say, as of now, consider we have SF orders. We have SF orders. Okay. Yeah. So let's try to parameterize this thing. Okay. So if you see, our file name is orders.txt and our table name is SF underscore orders. Okay. So what if we can parameterize this? Okay. Or or we can also parameterize, or create a variable for field limiter or field limiter, or we can create a delimiter for anything, which are the options available here. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll just parameterize we'll just create one variable that will store a value as orders, right, orders, and then we'll create another which will store a value of people. Okay, and then we can see how can we use within the job. So to create job variables, what you need to do is you need to right click on canvas, and if you see the manage job variables. Okay, so I will create manage job variables, and then I need to click on plus. Okay, so let's say what I'm doing, I'm creating a job variable for this file. So what I'm saying is, let's say job variable, that is JV orders. Okay, and that is a text, and the value I'm putting in is orders. And now what I'm doing, I'm creating another job variables, which is JV uh, people, and here I'm storing value as people. Okay, now I can use this variable there. Okay, uh, now even if I need to, create a variable for let's say other some different type. Uh, yeah, so let's create a you can say variable for the delimiter. So what I can do, I can just right click on job canvas, manage job variable, and I can say here like JV, uh, 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 let's say tab. Okay, and another I will create JV comma. Right. So here I can define value slash t, and here I can give comma. Okay, so these four variables I have created. Okay, one I created orders, people, JV tab, and JV comma. Correct. And now these are job specific. Okay, these are internal to job. If you open some different job, you will not find that. Right. Now what I can do is let me try to use them here. Let's say in pattern. Okay. So here instead of orders, what I can do, I can give that variable name. So how to access that variable? Dollar open curly braces, and I will provide the name JV orders. Okay, I have used this. Similarly, on the people side, I have created another variable called people, JV people, right? So I am giving JV people, right? And on the delimiter side, let's say this is a comma. So instead of using this, what I can do, I can use this variable JV comma. Okay, and let's say here on the tab, I'm using the JV tab. Okay, so yes, so I can, so I have used now this. Okay, so if I run this, so what it will do, it will just expand those variables, and it will process the data. Yeah, you see it has loaded the data, and then it is loading for SF people, right? And then it is processing the dim people table. Okay,
Nitin,
so
question here. When
yeah.
uh, when you just looked at the other screen, right, that shows you the run properties.
Hmm.
Uh, is there like a log that is generated that I can go through that shows here is this list of SQL queries? Here's the how you have session
Yeah,
logger workflow in Informatica.
correct. No, so it will not show you the the SQL query which it has executed, uh, but right, the option is whenever you run this job. Okay, right,
Hmm?
at the same time if you go to job, okay, when this run is completed, and if you go to that component and go to SQL, it will show you the latest SQL which it has run. Okay, latest one.
Oh, okay,
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 yeah, even if you go here, right, this was the latest SQL which has run. And if you see 18292,
run ID.
this must be the run ID.
Yeah,
Yeah, you see,
right.
right? So the latest, yeah,
From a log perspective, right? If
got it.
something fails, it's easier to dig
Correct.
into that log to see at
Correct.
what specific point it failed.
Right. Yeah. So that level of detail it does not provide, but as I said, this is the one option. The another
Okay.
option is, since this is a push down to Snowflake, what you can go always, you can just always go to history of Snowflake, right? And you can check here, right? So to copy that, you see, uh, it has
Oh,
used this
okay.
copy command, right? Copy
But
SF people. Hmm.
in this case, right? Um, because this is our own personal space, so it's probably the same user that you're
Uh-huh.
logged in with Snowflake as the same user that's kicking off from that one. But in
Correct.
an actual job, right? your functional account and my account in
Correct,
Snowflake
correct.
will not or may not have access to the functional account that, let's say, Matillion is using to kick off the jobs? Or
Uh,
can I still
yeah,
see the queries from a Matillion functional user?
no, no, but you will have read only access to the Snowflake production, right? So to check anything. So you can either check on the Snowflake metadata table, or you can check here. And if there are more and more queries which are running from other users as well, you can apply a filter. Let's say my text is something called team people, right? So I'll get that only those particular. Or if my stake is something like copy into, and then you can get that, right? That specific query which has executed, right?
Correct. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. No, there's something I didn't know of. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. So you can add that always. And we always will, I mean, as a developer or if you're in production support, you will always have a read-only access to the Snowflake production.
Oh, no, this is very easy. I mean, I don't think
Yes,
Oracle would give this kind of,
exactly.
at least I've not seen an Oracle or SQL Server where if an Informatica job kicks off, I cannot just
Hmm.
log in there and say, what is a query that's being run on the database?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
size, how much resource it's taking, right?
Correct. Right,
More
right.
like an admin tool, right? This is very
Yes.
good.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
But we cannot find seams all together at one place.
Yes, in the Matillion, right? You are saying?
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that is not available. But in Matillion, yeah, as I said, the latest run will be available in the SQL component. I mean, SQL properties here. Okay.
Yeah. Normally logs I'm asking, like for example, like if you pass any variable from external third party tool,
Mm-hmm.
like where we can find
Yeah,
stage
so
wise we need
then,
to get.
yeah, yeah. So you can print that variable somewhere. Let's say using bash command. Okay, so let me try to use that then if you want. Uh,
What is that bash?
bash. This is a Unix command, right? If I need to print anything here, I can print it. Let's say job started with variables. Okay. Um, and let's say I can give /n here. And then I can give the values of variables, right? Uh, let's say file, and I can simply, sorry, I can give these values here. Something like that. You can just form that log as well here. Okay, right? And one thing, so if you want to store this log in some file, okay, you can do that as well. And if you store this log in some file, um, let's say load.log, okay, it will get stored on the EC2 machine of this Matillion. Okay, so you have that ability as well, so you can create the log file along with the date parameter, right? Something like that. So we can use that as well. Okay. Yeah. You see, job started with variables, orders, and people like that. So you can print anything here. No, it is not printing. Yeah. So file is this, right? Table name is this. Whatever you can print all such thing if you need the extra log, right? But again, it is not good idea to print everything, right, on the console.
Even
So,
for complete log also we need to write script. For example, I'm running this job.
mhm.
I need all the details of this job, like what is the source, what are the in between stages, what are the records, kind of thing. Like, can we find as a log, single log for all
Uh,
the activities?
yes, but not up to that. that level, I would say. Okay, but yeah, so let me cover that topic as well. So, but there is a way where you can just get the count from the components, okay, and count from the if you need to have that count, let's say, or just display that count, right? Uh, let's say once the job is completed, let's say you need to display that count, okay, somewhere that let's say how many rows that orders and people have loaded, okay, so you just need to display that count. Okay. So what you can do, so if you go to this load orders or this component, right, you'll always see some some property like export. Okay, so if you go to edit, so export is exporting the variable value. Okay, right. So what all things it provide, if you see source, that means the value of this component. Okay, and target is our target variable, job variable, let's say. So if you see this, what all things it provides, these components provide like at what time it is completed, at what is this component name, how much duration it took, what is the message, how much row count it has loaded, uh, at what it is started at, and what is the status. Okay, so for now let me get the row count in some variable. So for that, the another use case is I can again define a job variable for that. Okay, something like JV count, and I'm getting this as numeric. Okay, and by default I'm making it 0.
Like these details are up to only a single activity.
Yes, up to single activity. So let's say I just need to get the data of the row count of this. What I can do, I can select that job variable, JV count, right?
So these are already predefined variables like JV count, or did you just
No, no,
define
no,
them?
no. I have just defined. So on the right hand side, all the user defined variable will be available. So if you see, these
Okay,
are environmental variables, these are job variables,
got it.
JV, right? And all will be available at this point. Okay, right? So let's say if
User
I need to,
defined only, right? These are variables
yes,
actually like stage wise user defined variables.
yes, yeah. These are the source properties, and these are the variables. So what I'm telling Matillion, that store the count of this row count in the JV count variable. Okay. Now if I need to print it here, what I can do is I can print something like that. Let's say um, count for JV or like orders file, and then I can simply use the JV count variable. Yeah. Okay, like this. Now if I run it, yeah, you see count for orders file 9994. This count it has exported here in that variable.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay. This may not be the perfect use, but yeah, we can export the things if you need. Okay, if you are creating an history, or let's say if you are tracking the history of your job, right? Like at what time it has started, at what time it has ended. Then let's say if you create something called this job, okay, Matlin history, and you are trying to maintain your project ID, project name, environment, job ID, start time, end time, and job status, success, right? So you can, let's say, kind of create this table, and before the job start, you can make an entry into this table. Okay, so at the job start, you will just make an entry till start time, right? And when the job end, you can update these two variables, right? Correct?
Sorry, I lost you there. Can you repeat that, Nitin?
Yeah.
What about this?
Yeah. So let's say what I was saying is, let's say if you're trying to maintain the history, okay. I mean, though we have uh, we have this task history available, right, at the Matillion table. But if you're trying to maintain the similar thing in a Snowflake table, okay,
Right.
because we can't simply export that here, right? If you're trying to
Yeah.
maintain the similar thing in Snowflake table, maybe you can have some job history table here created in Snowflake, and maybe you can create right. Uh, for each and every job, right? So you can just make an entry into this table. When the job starts, you will just make an entry like this is my job ID, this is my job name, and this is my start time. Okay. So how do we get that? So if you see, all these are can be filled up using the internal variables or built-in variables, right? So you can just give project ID, project name, env ID, env name, job ID, job name, then start time and end time and job status. Okay, right? So we can put the history here in this table. Okay, if I need to show you quickly, what I will do is I will create another um, okay, yeah, let's say I will create another SQL component here, and sorry,
You need to like after completing job, right? So
yeah. So for now, what I can do is, let's say, insert into, what is that table name? MTL job history. History. Okay. And what I can do here, I can just do a select. And now what I need to insert project ID, project name, environment ID, environment name, right? So I can simply use my variables, like because I know my project ID is available in a project ID variable. Okay. And my project name is available in the project name variable. Correct? Like that. Maybe let's I will skip that for now. I will quickly only have the job ID. So job ID, job name, and
Start
yeah,
time.
yeah, start time. And what I can do, I will put the snowflake
Correct.
function here, right? And here I will provide the column names.
we are selecting here like we need to insert only, right?
Yeah, yeah. So we're inserting and then we are giving that select, right?
Normally, like already we have a table, so we need to insert values into the table.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So we are inserting that only, right? Using select. So insert into my MTL job history. What is 91 MTL? MTL job history. Project ID, project name. Yeah, select this. Okay, let's see.
MTL.
Error line to position 11. Okay. So since job name are varchars, we'll have to put it in.
It mentioned something about MTL, right?
Uh, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Not sure if it has created the entry. Yeah, it has created the entry. Okay. Right. So this way you can, have that entry created, right? Not sure why
Normally,
this.
you're keeping it beginning, right? Like other stages, after completing other stages, I need to get details like count row. So in
Yeah,
this
yeah.
case, we need to keep it
Yeah, yeah. So
end.
then once the job is finished, let's say this is my end component. I mean, so this can vary, right? This table, whatever you need to keep, you can keep it. So now at the end, what I will do, I will update this. Okay, my in time and the job status, right? So what I will do here now, instead of insert, I will do update set end time equal to current timestamp and comma status equal to success,
and
where,
job ID.
yeah, that's correct, equal to, I can use the job ID variable,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so like that. Now, since I already made the entry, if I run this end to end, it will actually again made one entry. So what you can do, you can have another column here, which is run history ID or run ID, because that is unique, right? And then for each and every run ID, instead of updating based on job ID, update based on run ID.
One ID. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it is not status. Yeah. Job status. Yeah.
Uh, can you go back to that 1 second, Nathan, the script again?
Yeah. Just a second.
Mhm.
Yeah. Where?
The update one, the second part of the script, the update part. Yeah, okay, good, good.
Yeah. So always add run ID. Okay, in this table. Not update based on job ID because there will be multiple entries for the same job, right? Yeah. So
It's
if you go back, yeah, I can see it. This is my job name. Start time is this. End time is this. Job status success.
yeah, today.
Mhm. Yeah.
Can you
So
see difference in database start time and end time? Like we are using same timestamp, right?
yes, definitely. Why not? You will definitely see that.
Seconds, just 4 seconds.
Yeah, just 4 seconds. But I mean, the Snowflake is so faster, right? So for the 4 second difference we see.
And normally, like stage wise, same by using same variable, like it is taking differentiating.
Yes, exactly. Right. No, no, that see, that is not a variable. Okay. So see, at the end, this script is
Runtime.
going to be executing, yeah, on the Snowflake, right? So there is internal function for Snowflake, right? The way we have used
I
here.
am talking about only current timestamp. You are
Yes.
giving it a second activity, so it is
Hmm.
taking time, right?
Time, right? Yes, yes, exactly.
The
Correct.
same thing you are giving at end, so it is
Yes,
taking like
that time. The,
yeah,
the the Snowflake time when this executed, when this query is executed, right?
yeah, same variable, it is
Yeah,
differentiating time.
yeah. Okay. So that is how you can create the job variables. Okay. Uh, um, Now I have some different concept to cover. Okay. Now what we did as of now, if you see, uh, yeah. So if you see here, see, we have used this JV orders file, JV people file, right? So we have created two variable to store this, right? Correct. If we have, let's say, four files, what we'll do, we'll create four variables. Let's say another for returns, another for let's say delivery, okay, like that, right? So we'll create that. Okay. Um, so uh, let's create a copy of this job, paste it now. Let me delete it for now. Now uh, let's say what if I have to load these return files as well again. Okay. So I have this return, right? Return file, and if you see and go back to S3, I have that returns file there. Okay. So what I will do, I will create a copy of this job. Okay. And I will say that load returns. Sorry. Okay. And here, what I will have to do, I will have to create another variable for returns. Okay, right? Now, uh, um, yeah, okay, right? So you understand, right? So I have created one component for load orders. I have one component for people. I have one component for returns, right? So what if I can load all these three files using a single component, right? Okay, and I did not create all these variables, right? For like again for returns, I will create another one, JV returns, right? And I will give the file name here, right? Just to parameterize, correct? Right? What if I can load all these file in a single component using a single component? Okay, so what does that mean? And that is where our grid variable concept comes into picture. Okay, so the grid variable is a kind of 2D array. Okay, right? So the grid variable is a kind of 2D array which will hold the scalar value. Okay, so if you see here, we have defined one grid variable, that is grid business countries, and it has two columns, country and business start date, and it has country, for the country it has three value, and for business start date it has three value. Okay, US, Australia, Canada, like that. Okay, so grid variable kind of an array variable. These are not scalar variable. Okay, it is an array which will hold the scalar variable. Okay, so before going into much confusion, let me explain you what I'm trying to say. Okay, now what we have currently, now let's say we need to do the same thing using the grid variable. Okay, so what we have currently, we have parameterized the um, delimiter, and we have parameterized the file name, correct? What else we can parameterize? Yeah, and the table name, let's say. Okay, so what if I define the variable, let's say standard variables. Okay, so here if you see, I have created a variable for orders, JV orders, and JV people for people. Okay, now what if I will define something like that, JV file, JV delimiter, and let's say I'm creating another variable, that JV SF table. Okay, and let's say what are my files? I have files for orders, I have files for people, and I have files for
Cortex.
returns. Okay, and in my, here I have delimiter as /t, here as comma, and here I have delimiter, I think that is this,
Tilde.
yeah, tilde along with some others.
Okay.
Okay, and here I have table, that is SF orders, SF people, and returns. Okay, right? So now my requirement is basically, okay, so the forget about the grid variable, but my requirement is for my orders file, this is the file name, this is the delimiter, this is the table name. For people, these are the values, and for returns, these are the values. Okay, right? Now what I will do is I will simply delete other components. Okay, right? And let me rename it, and I will try to use or define the grid variable here. Okay, now to create grid variable, you can right click on canvas and right click on the grid variables, right? So always remember the way for job variable, right? So we have created this. Okay, for grid variable, what we'll do, we'll just create one variable, and that will contain the other, its column or its scalar variable. Okay, so I will click on plus, I'm giving some name, let's say GB, that is grid variables, and file info. Okay, and now what it is saying, within that grid variable, what all column names you want. Okay, so column names means these, file, delimiter, and SF table. Okay, so what I will create three columns. There's a file, delimiter, and SF table. Okay, I have created this. Now it is asking me for the default values. Okay, so what I will do, I will put these three default values. Okay, so either I can just click plus, I can write, or instead what I can do, I can use the this text mode component. Okay, so since it is tab separated, right, the Excel, and it accept the tab separated values. Yeah. Okay. So what I did, I just like an array, I created an array grid variable. Okay, and I have these three elements of that array. Okay, I have orders. So I have basically three columns of within that array. I have file, delimiter, and acceptable, and we have store orders, people, and returns in these three. Okay, right, correct. So these three value we have stored, right? The way otherwise we would have end up creating the 9 variables, right? Right, because the JV orders, JV people, JV return, JV delimiter, JV order delimiter, JV people delimiter, like this. So 3 variable for this, 3 for this 6, and 3 for this 9. Correct. Now what I can do, since I have defined this variable as a grid, okay, it means an array, and as you know, now uh, now what we can do, we can iterate over that grid variable. Okay, right? As you know that in any scripting language or anything, right, whenever we define array, we can have a for loop over that array, right, and we can get the next element. Similarly, I can do it here. Okay, so to do that, what I will do, I will use iterator component. So I have various, the file iterator, fix iterator. I will specifically use the grid iterator because I need to iterate, or I need to have a loop on the grid iterator. Okay, and how does it work is what it will do. So in the grid, if I see my grid iterator, it will first take this value, first row, or there is a 0th index, then it will take the first, second row, and it will take the third row, and it will iterate over that one by one as of now. Okay, so what I will do, I will click there, and for iteration, you see there is a blue icon, okay, or blue hollow circle, that is a iterate. So I just need to connect that to this, and it will get connected. Okay, so what I did, I have created one grid variable which will have 3 columns, file, delimiter, and acceptable, and I have inserted basically or defined the 3 values in that. Okay, I have defined the values for orders file, people file, and return file. Okay, now I need to iterate over that because I'm using a single component. Okay, so how can we do that? I just need to iterate over that or have a for loop. So I will use a grid iterator component, and it's pretty simple. What is asking is grid variable. So which is my grid variable? In the drop down you will get that JB file info. Okay, now we need to have a variable mapping here. Okay, the way, if you remember, so here, right, so in the export tab we did and mapping, right, from source to column, source to target, a kind of this value I am storing into this job variable. Okay, similarly I will have to map the values of a grid column to my job variables. Okay, so what is saying grid column? So which is my grid column? First is file, right? Second is delimiter. Okay, and in which variable I need to store? I can store that in a job variable. So what I will do first, I will now remove this. Okay, and now instead of creating this specific delimiter, what I will say, I will just say JV delimiter. Instead of creating another variable for orders, I will just say JV file and JV table. Okay, say delimiter I'm doing comma orders file JV table. Let's say this is just a default value. Okay, I'm just keeping a default value. Okay, right, or I'm keeping, let's say, slashed here. Okay, now I have created, so what I did, I created first a grid variable. Okay, I have defined these 3 columns, file, delimiter, table. I have inserted 3 rows in that grid variable, and now I want to iterate over that using iterator, right? So in the grid variable mapping, what I will say now, my file should store in JV file variable, my delimiter should store in JV delimiter, and my SF table we should store in JV table delimiter. Okay, so what it will happen at the time of execution, the grid variable will pick up the first row. Okay, it will store order in JV file. Okay, it will store delimiter in JV delimiter. It will store SF order in JV table. Okay, so once that execution is completed, it will come back to second row. It will store again the people in JV file. It will store the delimiter, that is comma in JV delimiter, and it will store SF table, which is SF underscore people in JV table. Okay. Now this is how we can define the mapping. Okay, so I will explain you in detail more, but as of now, let's say break one failure, no concurrency. So concurrency is something that whether you want to run concurrently or sequentially, all these three files. Right now I'm keeping sequential. Okay, and then here the record values in task history. Yes, that means those value will be available in the task history table. Okay, now I'm not sure if we can apply the grid iterator here as well. Okay, yes, and now what I can, or let's do one thing. Let's keep this for now because otherwise it will get confused. Right now, what I'm doing, just assume that I'm truncating these three tables first. Okay, and then I'm iterating over my grid variable. Okay, and now if you see here what we did for a, let's say for a first iteration, I have stored the value in the JV file, JV delimiter and JV table. Okay, so I will use those variables here. So instead of JV orders now, what I will do, I will use JV file. So what it will do in the first iteration, it will take the orders file and load it. Now instead of SF table, SF order, what I can simply do, I can use JV table here, right? Instead of hard coding that name. Okay, and instead of JV tab, what I can do is I can use JV delimiter. Okay, why it is not in valid state? Okay, export tab. Yeah, because this variable is not available right now. JV count. Let me remove this.
Because you deleted that from the job variables.
Yes, job variable. That's correct. Here it is not present. Okay. Now let's see what happens exactly. Okay. Now if I run this, okay, if I go to log history, you see the three iterations are generated. Right. Now just concentrate on this right. So grid iterator. Okay. It went here. It just you can say it just saw how many values are present in the grid iterator variable. So there are three variables, right? So it has generated three iterations. And then first, if you see here, while load orders, actually this is our component. Okay, so it has first loaded, it has first taken the value for JV orders and delimiter as /t, and it is stored in the job variable that we created, JV file JV delimiter, and it has loaded these many counts. In the next iteration, what it did, it picked up the second row, that is people. Okay, and now the JV table points to SF people. Earlier, for the first iteration, it pointed to SF orders, right? And similarly, when for the third iteration, what it did, it took the third value from the grid variable, which is returns, and it has loaded the return table. Okay, so this is how easy it is. Now, instead of creating the three components or four components or five components, we can load that using the single component with the help of the grid variable. Okay, and you can parameterize anything, right? Even if you say that client says no, I will put my three files in three different S3 bucket or three different folders, you can go and edit this grid variable, add that S3 bucket, add some value there, right? And create a job variable for that for S3 bucket and use that here, right?
Normally, we don't have components here, right? How it is actually like we have only one component load file.
Which component? Yes, yeah, that is what, right? We have iterator, for loop in scripting,
No,
right?
no.
Okay, so the for loop, right?
Like
So loop,
yeah,
loop,
ETL perspective actually like these are parameters. As I know, ETL perspective like job level you can define, and
yes,
like top level like kind of like to running job into job, then we can define top level and external also we can define.
yes, yeah. So see here, uh, so in plain English, what we're doing is we have defined one array, right? So array we know, right? So or you can just say we have created grid. You can assume that grid variable as a table, right? So consider the grid variable as a table, right? Because it looks like that, right? Because our usually table we have columns and rows, right? Columns and rows, correct? So what we did in grid variables, we created one grid variable and we have created three column names. See, there also they are saying what are the column names of the grid. So assume like this is my table. Within that table, I have three columns, file delimiter and accept table, and within that I have inserted three rows to this table, right? First is this orders row, return row, and people row. Right? Now what I'm doing, I'm doing an iterator. Iterator is nothing but looping. So using the grid iterator component, I am iterating over a grid variable, right? Because it is asking me that on which grid variable you need to iterate. So I have selected the one which I created, and then I did the grid variable mapping that for the each iteration assign the column of grid, that these are the grid column, right? File delimiter and accept table. If you see here, these are the column file delimiter accept table. So what I'm
Yeah,
telling,
agree. I agree. I am asking actually like, for example, for first iteration, like
mhm.
how it is comparing like one source to other same target, like based on
No, there
only
is no same target, right? What it is doing, that is
for
what the iterator is, right?
first iteration
Yeah.
it is
Mhm.
taking, right? So first iteration just we have defined only kind of properties means variables, nothing but here. Okay,
Yes.
first iteration like how it is taking
Yeah. Okay.
exactly
Okay. Let
related
me tell you. Yeah. Let me tell you. So let's say, what is the first iteration for orders, right?
for orders. Yeah.
Yeah. So file name is order, delimiter is /t, and table name is SF order, right? So when you come here, let's say first iteration is running, right? What it
Mm.
will do for JV file, it will take the orders.txt, right? In the JV file, I will have orders. Now my warehouse is same, order the DB is same, public schema is same. What is changing? My table name, target table name.
Mm.
So for the first iteration, what it will take? JV table as SF orders,
Mhm.
right? Rest thing remains same, right? See, for all these three tables, only things which are changing is pattern, target table, and the delimiter. So for the first deal, it
Okay,
will take
what
the delimiter
about,
as tab.
for example, what about if you have different column names also, like it is working fine? Is it right?
No, yeah, that is what, right? That is what I said earlier. Don't select any column names here,
For
right?
example, for example, as per this requirement, for first file, I need to select only two columns.
Okay, then
And
that is not possible.
huh?
That is not possible then.
That is not possible. Okay.
Yeah.
For
So
example, I have a like leave it. I have a like a file itself only like two columns. So I need
okay.
to entire
Uh-huh.
data. I need to
Hmm.
load the target.
Yeah. So that is what we are doing here, right?
The thing is actually like file columns are differentiate not possible by using single component to apply grid variables. Yeah, I understood like it is like what by using only single component, what it is doing like it is like populating like again and again like giving
Hmm.
different structures
Values. Yeah. Yeah.
values. So that is
Yeah.
what it is running. So for
Yes.
example, what I'm saying actually different columns like how it is for example in first
Identifying
column I have a two three columns. In
first file,
second
right?
file I
Hmm.
have a 10 columns.
Yes. That is what that is what I was telling, and I told at the start that see, you see this option load columns. So that will tell me which column of snowflake table to load, right? So what you said, what I said earlier, that don't select anything towards right, because then that will become a static. Okay. So what will happen if I select right here? Okay. And if I try to run it, it will fail, right? It will fail because what it is saying, the load column unrecognized option ID person, because for the SF orders or the order file, there is no column called ID person, right? Because for SF order, my column names are this, tons of columns, right? The ID and person column are for this SF people. Okay, that is why I said that don't select anything in the column. Okay, if you don't select anything, what it will do at the runtime, it will check this column, it will check this table, and it will load all the columns of that table. Okay, so that is why if you see here now, I am not selecting anything towards right, right? That means Matillion assumes that we need to load all the columns of the table. And if I
Ye-
do this, then it will load properly. So at the
Yeah.
runtime, it will decide. Okay.
Okay, the
So
thing
then,
is actually in this case actually like we don't want to go for any transformation. For
Yes, yes,
example,
yes. Yeah, exactly. And
in this
usually we
case,
don't do that.
you
direct
selected
mapping
that.
only possible, but transformation is not possible.
Yes, transformation is not
Sudha,
possible.
as Nitin said earlier, we cannot do transformation in orchestration.
This
Yes, yes.
yeah, yeah,
Actually, we
that is
cannot do.
right point, right point.
If I need to transform this, then what I can do? Once my this is done, then I can load this, my team people. That will transform my data, right? From SAP people to team people.
That is fine.
Yeah.
What I'm
No, no,
saying,
within that,
like
that is not possible, whatever you are saying. So, yeah, so I got
only
it,
only
loading the
direct
specific
mapping is possible,
columns.
nothing but
Correct,
direct
correct.
mapping.
Yes, yes, that's true.
Wherever, like if it is an orchestrated job, if it is a transformation job, only direct mapping is possible parallelly.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
No, no, I think, is it correct, Nitin? I think only within the orchestration job, you cannot select the columns, but within the transformation job, you can have the
Yeah.
possibility, options to choose and pick which particular columns you want to load, right?
Yes,
No,
yes. No, no. Parallelly is saying that means with the help of single component,
Or
the
with
way
just
we did, right?
variable, grid
However,
variable.
saying that this iterator component will not be available for you in transformation job. Okay, because as I said, in transformation job, only the SQL specific component or the Snowflake specific component will be available. These are the orchestration, right? Just to orchestrate your flow, these iterators are. But you will not have this iterator component in the transformation job. Okay. But yes, so in transformation job, you can select whatever the column that you need. If you don't need the person, just select these two. That's it.
So
Right? Yeah.
in the orchestration job also, right? When you
actually column wise not we cannot
Correct.
differentiate. The thing is actually grid. For example, we are talking about here only grid variables possible or not. Grid variables are not possible in transformation
Correct. Correct.
job.
Yes. Yes.
So transformation
The
job,
iterator.
it already it could be designed, only for single process. So
Uh,
whatever we can choose there
yeah.
itself.
So generally, if you see, our transformation jobs, right? So these jobs are very, requirement specific.
Yeah, yeah, got it,
So
got
it's
it.
very hard to automate that. Very, very hard. There are like possibilities, but usually we'll not have that scenario to automate our each and every job, right? Or
Yeah, as
having a
Ramana
single
said,
job for that.
it is
Yes,
not possible for transformation jobs,
yes.
grid variables.
Grid variables, yeah. Grid
Only
iterators
direct
specifically.
mapping. Useful is only direct mapping.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Nitin,
Nathan, sorry, Fahad, go ahead.
yeah, good, Raman, I'll follow.
Yeah, Nitin, in the real time, the use case is to load stage tables. Generally, we don't skip any columns or anything.
Exactly. Right.
We just dump it into landing tables.
Exactly. Right.
Kind of full load also, full load or initial load.
Yes. Full load initial load. We can do that, right? So daily, if you see, right, for this file loading scenario, daily our client or our source system will put the
Correct.
different files, right? Yeah, we just need to
For
load it.
example, like here, like if I go for JSON or XML, how it works?
Yeah, yeah, it will work though. So
Even
what
JSON and
yeah, what you will do in that case, you will have another parameter for file type. Okay. And what you can do here, simply, I will create one variable called uh, uh, let's say file type. Okay. And I will, let's see, these are all CSV. And this is JSON. Hey, where is another? No, no, sorry. CSV. Okay. And then let's say if I have my JSON file, I can write that name. What is my file name? Okay. And we can write it basically.
And Nitin, actually, this would be helpful when we need to create a new mapping. So we don't go and update our orchestration job. We simply go and update our grid variable.
Grid variable. Yes, yes. Right. Exactly.
but this
Okay.
feature I never seen like it is
Yes.
like completely like for example
Unique.
we have a different type of files even though it is reading. in
That
single
yes,
using
I
single
think
component?
yes. Actually, that I have not tried, but there are high chances that yeah, it is possible. But if time permits, we will try that. But as I said, we have that JSON file loading as well, so we'll try that. Okay. Um, but yeah, let's see how it works. Okay. Mostly it should work, mostly, but yeah, let's see in that part. But even if usually if you have another JSON files, if this doesn't work, create another component, right? So within just with the help of two components, you will be able to load tens of files, correct? With the help of grid variable, right? Uh, So that is where
Even
the
we,
hmm,
even though we can define like table to table also.
table to table. That means
Yeah, I have a table at source. Just I
hmm,
need to dump data to target. That also database, table to table, by using single component.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. We can do that, right? Let's say after this process, you want to load it into your let's say final table, and you're adding some audit columns there, right? Let's say inserted
No,
by,
no,
inserted by.
not like that. Just I'm asking like uh, already we have a three jobs, right? But
Hmm.
instead of doing three jobs,
Correct. We
we are
can do that
using
in
single
single.
component and loading
Exactly.
data.
Yes, I will create the variable something like tables. Let's say GV. Let's say I'm saving stage to final. Right.
Oh, we can
Uh,
go. We need to create a new grid variable for these tables.
yeah, if you want to automate that, I mean running into the loop. If you want to run into loop, then you can do that.
Same existing by taking existing grid variables. If you add one more
Yeah,
external
you can do that. That as well. Yes, that is possible. Adding
table name,
one more column. Yes, that is possible.
but not sure actually schemas varies. So schema
Yes,
also we need to create the grid variable separately.
you can create within this only, but I really, so the logical columns you can group in one, right? So you can create the, schema here as well. So no issues. Schema and table name, right? You are saying database name or schema name or table name, correct?
Yeah, correct only. Okay,
Yeah,
for example, like I am giving like I have a different schema at source and different schema at
correct,
target.
correct. Yes, yeah, yeah. You can do that. So you can either just create two more variables here, right? Let's say src schema and tgt schema, right? And use this. You can use this the same grid variable now. So you don't need to create another variable. Yeah. See, to this iterator component, anything can be attached. Okay. Even if I take the SQL script component, okay, anything can be attached to this.
Teams
Right.
in the sense actually it doesn't look for internally. Just I'm asking internally. Like
Uh-huh.
it doesn't look metadata or what, how it is working.
No. It what it does simply, we have this grid variable, right? We have these three columns. Within that, I have defined these three values. It will just pick up all these three values and it will check. Yeah. So grid variable has to generate the three iterations. So it will take the first row. It will iterate over that. Once that is completed, then it will use second row. Then once that is completed, it will use
Yeah,
third row.
agree, Nitin. Agree.
Yeah.
Really agree that it is working fine. What I'm asking actually, like background perspective. What I'm asking actually, like normally, like the metadata is mandatory to load the data anywhere. Am I right or wrong? As of now,
Yes. Yes.
no, I'm not including cloud and new concepts and all.
Yes.
So here, like background perspective, how it is working, like it is taking different metadata, like it is loading data.
Yes.
We are not at all defining like kind of metadata anywhere. For example, I have a five jobs.
Yes. Yes.
I need to load like file to database, database to file,
Yeah.
database to database. Different things I'm like I can define here by using grid variable concept.
Right. Yeah.
So internally,
Yes.
just I'm asking how it is internally like how it is working
That is what the
background.
internal functionality I was saying, right? This is what it do. It doesn't hit the grid variable will not hit your any Snowflake database for metadata or anything. It will just pick whatever we have given here, like orders, SF people. For grid variable, these are just the variables. Okay. There is nothing to do whether it's a Snowflake database or not. Okay. And it will just use these variables values one by one in this. and it will just replace that Matillion. Okay.
And from on-premise to cloud, in this case, it cannot work.
Yes. Yeah.
Only cloud, within cloud it is working.
So see, I mean, okay, if you delete this, right? Okay, there is nothing Snowflake connections. Nothing is going to Snowflake. Okay. For this, we have just defined these 3 rows. Okay. For grid variable. Okay. For this, these are just the values for grid. Okay. And no metadata is read by the grid variable. But what it's doing in simple, try to understand that in simple English, it is just picking these rows one by one. It's not a table or anything. Assume that it's keeping in some memory, and these for the grid, these are just the values. Okay, even grid variable doesn't know that this is a Snowflake table name. Okay, or grid variable doesn't know that this is the file at S3. Okay, right? I can give any name instead of file. I can give my name to this variable, and I can have these file values. Right?
This itself is a metadata for our job.
Yes, yes. This itself is metadata. It will not hit the Snowflake, but for let's say for the first iteration, it will take the values. It will replace our variable values, like here. Okay. If I give something different, then it will fail. Let's say if I give SF orders 2, then my job will fail. Because when that value is coming here on SF table, then Snowflake understand that no, SF order 2 is not a table. Okay, right? SF order 2 is not a table. You see, unrecognized option SF orders 2. Okay. So grid variable doesn't know whether that table is valid or not or anything.
Yeah,
For
in
that,
this
it needs
case,
a
I
value.
have a one question actually. We are extracting file from S3 gate. What do you call?
S3
From
bucket.
Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Amazon, like Amazon S3
S3
gate, we
bucket.
are
Yeah.
S3 bucket.
Uh-huh.
Actually, S3 bucket, if you have two same files in different folders, not possible.
Yeah, as
Like
is no, no,
it
no.
is taking only based on name only. It is taking, as you said.
Yes, so if yeah, if you have the files in different folders, you can create that S3 variable name here again, right? Another. You can parameterize that as well, right? S3 variable name.
Oh, actually,
Yeah,
like
is
in
yeah,
that way, like it is going for as per name in the sense like if you have a
yes,
say, different files in same folder, different folders, same file. So we need to go for like that.
yes. You can parameterize everything. Even if you say my SF people table is in some different database, it's not in the ordered GB, it is in some different database. You can create that grid variable and add that column database name, right?
Okay. I mean, actually, we need to go for a different again grid variable defining like that.
Either you can create new one or you can you can use existing one. So it's up to
We
also you.
can see actually it is a good feature like seems
Yeah,
very good feature which is not available in ETL. Am I right
right.
or wrong?
Yes. Let's say I'm defining SFDB here. Now for now I can define this demo DB, right? Because these are available in demo DB only. As of now, these are all available. So what I can do now here, yeah, I will have to first create another variable to store the value of DB. So JVDB I'm saying, and the default value I'm just giving demo DB default value. Okay. Not- And then in the grid variable, I can use that mapping here. Map that to SFDB to JVDB. And here instead of using environmental variable env, I can use JVDB.
Yeah, can I say this multiple instance, this concept?
Yes, yes, yeah, you can assume that. Yes. So like that you can do.
Normally ETL like if you use same job, like by running like we can give different kind of username and schema, DB name schema
Correct,
and all in runtime. Same
correct,
like
correct.
this actually like internally we are defining.
Yes. Here we're just parameterizing our flows and we're trying to, automate the flows, right? Nothing else.
Yeah,
So in this entire orchestration jobs that we have seen so far,
Mhm.
mostly we are extracting data from an S3 location. Is
Yes.
it possible to download or read files from an FTP location?
Yes, yes, yeah. Actually, we don't have that scenario, but that's pretty easy.
Okay.
You can use the data transfer, right? You can
Mhm.
split your source. Let's say your source is on SFTP. Okay. Just give your SFTP username password. That's it. Okay. And your target, let's say, sorry, your target type, let's say you want to put it on S3. So let's say
Okay.
if your client says no, I will put that on SFTP and load that to Snowflake. So what you can do prior to this component, right? Have this SFTP, get that file to S3 from SFTP, and then learn it,
Okay.
right?
So in that case, your target type is S3, right? So it'll keep that S3 in this case.
Yes, yes. It will ask you for this bucket name right here.
Then
I
what I'm
selected.
asking is,
Mm-hmm,
uh, so in this case, right, your source is an SFTP location.
mm-hmm.
Do you have to go through the S3 or can you directly load it into a Snowflake?
No, no. So you have to go to S3 first.
You have to.
There's
Okay.
there's no option, right? Even you can store it as your blob storage.
Got you.
This
And
is
what are
useful
all?
if, yeah. Mhm.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nitin.
Yeah, this is useful in some of the cases that that you have some file in S3 for your project, and some other team is saying, hey, can you share the file with us on a cloud storage because we're using the GCP, not the AWS. You can do that.
That's more like a replication.
Yeah, replication. But
What are the
mhm,
other sources that you can consume the data from besides
yeah,
an
these
S3
are
and
all
S?
Azure
Okay, so
Box, Drop,
TP,
FTP,
HTTP.
HTTPS, HTTP, Microsoft SharePoint. This is important. File share, S3 again. If someone else S3, that's also possible.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, excellent.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. But assume that if don't replicate your data. Okay, there are two ways you can share. Let's say if some other team wants to get your data from Snowflake and they are also using Snowflake. So in Snowflake, you know it, we can create the data share. So do that. If some
Okay.
upstream system, if they are saying that we will not put our file in your S3, but we will
Mhm.
put the file in our S3. So get that
Correct.
from. Okay. So don't replicate that file to your S3. What you can do, you can ask your cloud team to provide access to your IAM role, access to their S3 bucket.
Just a read only,
Just
or
a
even
read,
write.
read. Yes. No, no, read. They will not allow the write, but yeah.
Right.
So don't copy again from their S3 to your S3. Now that is what the data fragmentation or data, duplication we're trying to allow, avoid here, right? It's just
Got
a
it.
matter of taking an access. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to go, yeah, definitely we'll practice this out. Okay. Or it's 8:54. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's practice it now first, and then I will cover the another topic on the same. Okay. So what you do now? Create a copy of your job, whichever is there, and then delete the rest of the component. Just keep one component and try to use the grid iterator. Possible? Yeah.
Say that one more time,
Yeah. So,
please.
so yeah. So basically, we need to create this scenario. So if you can try this scenario now.
Okay. Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Do you want to share the screen? If someone, I mean, I can guide you there, right? Maybe Fad, you can share if you have that open Matillion.
Just I'll share my screen. Bear with me. I have to open Matillion.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. You can open, no issues. Yeah. So guys, just create another job from our earlier job, right? Where we were using the multiple S3 load component. So create a copy of that job and give it some name like grid variable and all something like that.
So this Fahad MTL, right? This is the project name, right?
Yes, yeah, that is a project name.
Right. So once I go in the project, I still have to switch to my version, right?
In case if you guys have, there are multiple developers, right? But currently this is like your private project, so you can either work on your only. But yes, so in real time you need to do that.
So once I click on select manage version, I can go to default. So let's say if I go to default,
No, 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 no.
what?
Wait. You are already in default version now. Okay, if you see on
Right,
the Extreme or Navigator, but
right.
if you want to switch to different version, there is a switch version option. There is a button right there, switch version
So
upper. Mhm.
let me not go to this. I just want to see within this, I would still be able. So here's the thing: within my default, I don't see the orchestration jobs that I have created.
Yes, because that is a kind of different folders. Okay, version is you can manage, so that is a completely different folder. Okay, the one which you have created in Fahad workspace will not be available in default, and the true is for reverse as well.
Oh, okay,
Okay? That is what, right? Assume you are managing a team of 5 team members, right? So they will have their own independent workspace area, right?
right.
With these tools such as let's say Talent and other, where you manually install on your laptop. So your laptops are different. That means there is no point in creating versions, right? You all have your own independent laptop. But here you're logging into a same version, same Matillion instance or same URL, right? So you'll have to have something where you can, define your own independent workspace. So that is what the versions are for.
Okay, got it. Okay. So what are we doing here? Just create a new job, I guess. Or
Yeah. So what you can do, no, just cancel. Do you have that orchestration order people created? Scroll down. Yeah. Double click. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you can create a copy of this. Just right click on that job name, copy and paste it there.
and we're gonna call it um,
Yeah, so now, yeah, so others can follow, guys. Okay, maybe you can delete. Yeah, you can just make a look and feel good. Yeah, just arrange those components. Delete the another that copy of load component. We just need one now.
right.
So I hope others are following. Okay, yeah. Now the first thing what we need to do, as I said, we need to let's truncate this table first. Go to SQL script component and write this yeah, so add another for SF returns as well. Just copy that and paste it. Yeah. uh,
So,
um, I think some of the shortcuts cannot work sometime.
okay. So you have orders, people, and what was the other one?
Returns.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. No, don't truncate, it will execute that. Okay, it has truncated the tables. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Now let's now first create a grid variable, right? Yeah,
Yes.
so right click, manage grid variables, uh, add one grid variable. Yes, plus.
Sorry. Something. Okay.
I think your screen is stuck.
Are you not able to see? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yeah. Now it's visible.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't give GV grid variable. Give something like file info, something relevance name. It's like GV underscore. Obviously, prefer that's with GV. That means a grid variable underscore file info, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now in the column name and the that let that be copied or shared. Not a problem. Yeah. Now let's add three columns. Right. So consider this is the table, right? And we're adding three columns to that table. This first column is a file, which will have our file name. Second column, let's say delimiter. And the third column is, let's say, what is that? Table, accept table, or target table. Yeah, that's fine. Right? Yeah. Now click on next. Yeah. And here you can add the three values, let's say. Right? So if you want that three values, I can give it to you.
Where do you say add those three values? Right here? Okay.
No. Click next. Na. These are the data type. Yeah. No, I think you did not add it.
Let me
Yeah.
just see.
Yeah. Write it one more time.
Oh, right. File. Delimiter.
Delimiter. Yeah.
Table, right?
Yes. Now click next. Yeah. So here we'll add. You see their default values, right? At the top it is saying. So we'll add three default values here. First will be orders, capital or ORDS orders. That is my file name, right? Then its delimiter is /t, and target table is SF orders. I will add another one, that is, let's say, for people, file name is people, table name is SF people, and delimiter is comma. So you can just give the comma, type in comma there, yeah, and SF people. And same you can do for returns as well. So that for that file name is returns in capital.
And delimiter is?
Okay. Delimiter, let me ping you. Mm, yeah, others can also copy that delimiter. Okay, so it's asterisk, then tilde and cap. That I just uh, took that just for an illustration, that a multi delimiter is also allowed. SF returns. Okay, yeah. Now here we have created this grid variable. Okay, so if you want to again verify the columns, you can click on the columns. If you want to verify values, you can click on values. That's also possible.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Now, as I said, now let's create three job variables now, right? To
Okay.
store the each iteration values of the grid variable. Yeah. So click, yeah, three times, right? So we take JV underscore file. Let's say job variable, JV underscore file, then JV underscore delimiter, and JV underscore table. Okay, yeah, give some default values, because as I said, right, Matillion verifies, whether your table is already present or not, right? So give some default values there, anything. Uh, Delimiter, give, let's say, /t, and table name SF orders you can give. If you give some all table name which is not present, it will not validate the job. Okay, but still if you run it,
Actually,
it will. Mhm.
default names we are giving. That is
Yeah.
mandatory.
No, that is not mandatory. But let's say if you don't give SF order, okay, just remove that SF order name, Fahad.
I'm
Don't
Then
sorry.
give
Say that.
default enable. Yeah, don't give that default for SF orders. Remove that SF order text. Yeah, and just click OK.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I will see what it does. Okay. Now let's pull the grid iterator component. So in the component tab, you can search for grid iterator or iterator. Yeah. Bring in the grid iterator at the top. No. Yeah. Just no. It has not yet connected. Just remove. Yeah, and connect that blue line to that component. Yes. Yes. Now.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it gets automatically attached. Now let's set up the grid iterator component. Yeah, so the grid variable, we need to select the grid variable, right? Because on which grid variable we need to iterate. This is a kind of for loop. So select it, yeah, and then grid variable mapping. That means mapping the column of grid to the column to the job variables.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
Yes, right. Now Yes, in that component we need to, instead of in that pattern, right? Instead of orders, we need just give that JV underscore file. So always dollar open curly braces and then JV underscore file.
The first is dollar. Okay.
Yes. So as I said, to access any variable in Matillion, the syntax is dollar open curly braces, then your uh, uh, variable name and close curly braces. Yes. Right. So click OK here now.
And dot .txt, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That is a pattern.
Target table.
No, again, table, don't use that. So for table, you need to type, use that, right? Use variable. Click on that. There is an option called use variable, right? Click on that, and then all the variables will get populated. Search your one, JV underscore. You can just type in JV underscore, yeah, JV table, right? And similarly for delimiter, that is fine. Table name is fine. Now in the delimiter, yes, give that, select the variable in field delimiter because that is changing, right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Now here, type in your variable name. So somewhere you will see the drop down in the variable. In such text editor, you will have to type your variable name, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is the difference? In what scenarios do you see the drop down, and when do you not see that?
And no, that is not something, that they define somewhere. Okay, so it is just wherever we see text box, you can type in your delimiter. Wherever you see the use variable option, you can use that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we had
Now see, I think someone was asking like why, if we don't give default value, what will happen? Now, as I said, whenever you right click on, whenever you change anything in component, Matillion validates that component, right? Whether it's valid or not. Now,
okay,
in JV table, we are not given any default value. That means that is null, right? So
correct,
when it's validating, it is replacing that value with null. And now it is saying that input is required.
right?
Okay. Again, if you right click on job canvas and change that to some table name, the job variable, and now job variable, now change it to some, let's write to some dummy, right? The table name as dummy. Okay. And just click OK. Now again, go back to that component. Now here, Ramana, if you see, it will still, no, just right click and validate one more time. Right click on job canvas and do revalidate. Yeah. The so the very first option. Yeah. Yeah. Now again, go back on that. It will says unrecognized option dummy. That means now it is again, see, while validating, it is using that, it is expanding that variable value to dummy. And it is
Right.
saying that dummy table is not present, right? But having said that, no, don't change. But if you run it at the runtime, it will take the
From
actual
the
values. Okay, so if you cancel it
okay, got it.
and just I think everything is set. Yeah, and just run it. Right click and run it. Run the job.
Um, yeah, everything. Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Delimiter.
Okay. Yeah. Open the taskbar. Expand that. Yeah. You see, it is expanding the values, right, at the runtime. Though the job syntactically it was not validating, but at the
Correct.
runtime it took the values. Yeah, you can see the first value is for orders, then it is picking for SF people, and finally for grid. You can expand the below as well. Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Now again, if you
Just
can
we
go,
can give any values over there, not required the original values, actual values.
yes, but it's good if you don't want to see that where error, right? While validating the job, it's good to have any, give some value which is already present or the table which is already present in Snowflake. This is just for table, okay. For rest, you can give any value, dummy value. Okay, if you can go, yeah, right click on job variable, right click on job canvas and click on job variables. So anything you can give. So he has given JV file name as orders, right? So he can give his name as well because Matlin is not validating the thing that whether that file is already present on S3 or not. But yes, that table it is validating that the table is not present. Okay, right? So this is how we can create the job videos. Now, if we can, uh, Okay, yeah. If you can stop sharing, let me cover a few other stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
So I hope it is clear that when to use the grid variables and how to use and how can we use the grid iterators, right? So it's pretty easy instead of using multiple components because for us to run this component or to process different file, what is the thing which only are changing is just a pattern, the table and the delimiter, right? Rest all are remain same. Okay. Now,
Nitin,
mhm.
can you please show me the once again the grid variable creation?
Okay, sure, yeah. So what I need to do, I will right click on job canvas, go to grid variable, click on plus. Here I will give my grid variable name,
Okay,
grid variable test. Okay, now I will have to add the few more columns here. Okay, I mean, assume that this is a table and I'm adding the columns. So I will add one column per file and one column for, let's say,
delimiter. Yeah.
delimiter.
There is a
Mhm.
And then
property called shade, copied at shade.
yeah, so we'll come back to this later sometime. Um, this is like not much you can see useful. That's why I will cover this at the last. But just copy versus share, you can assume that global versus local for now. Okay, but even that is not true. But yeah, let's see in that. So then I can give some values here, right? I can give my values, right? Test file, anything delimiter. I can give whatever delimiter I need, right? Whatever delimiter my file has, right? Finance file, yeah, simple. Right. Okay, yeah. Now just few other things here. Um, Now, if you see that there are few other options, right? So record values in task history. If you say no, then the values that we see in the task history, right? Those will not be available. Okay.
Mapping. Can you open once mapping?
Which mapping? Okay, grid mapping. Yeah, sure.
You can close.
Yeah. So here we're doing. Now, if you see there is one option that is concurrency. Okay. Now, as of now, these files are getting loaded in a sequential manner. So first it will load orders, then let's say people or returns orders people like that, but they are running in sequential. What if I need to run in parallel? Okay, so if I select the concurrency, yeah, do not shared variables. Yeah, so if I select the concurrency, I cannot define basically the job variable as a shared. I need to define them as a copy. That is a local variable. Okay, shared is something those are shared within the job across the multiple components. Okay, so if we want to run something parallelly and you are using some variable, you need to define those variable as a copied instead of shared. Shared is something the value is shared between multiple components within the job. So as of now I'm making them the copied. Okay, just to make sure that if I again validating, yeah, it's valid. Okay, now what uh, now just by looking at this, what you will understand that if I run this, all the three iterations will run in parallel. Okay, so see what it is doing. Okay, when we are executing the first, let's say, orders file, what is doing, it is preparing some copy command. It is sending this command to Snowflake for execution, right? So what does that mean? It is making a connection to Snowflake. Is that right?
Right.
Right, it is because it is opening a connection with Snowflake and then it is executing this copy command, right? Or you can
Mhm.
say it is creating a new transaction with Snowflake, right? Similarly, for second iteration, when the people file will take, it will take the people file and it will send this. Okay, now if we select here concurrency, right, concurrent execution, that means all it should create the three different Snowflake connection, correct, to execute them parallelly. right? Now, if we run it now, okay, still it will not run all these three files concurrently. Why? Okay, right? So
Our
to run
warehouse
this,
is sorry,
yeah, yeah,
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, yes. No, no, no. So warehouse is not the problem. Warehouse can accept multiple requests, right? So let's say within our team, we are using single warehouse for all of your team, and all of our team member can fire the queries to the same warehouse, right? So the thing is that now here what we need to have a three different connection for this, uh, to be executed, right? All three files parallelly, right? So my Matillion should create three connections. Now, even if I run this, it will not run concurrently. This is because of the
One.
one property, yes, that we have set while creating the environment, that is concurrent connection. We have set it to one. And what it says, if you see this description, the number of concurrent connections per running job means within a job, how many concurrent connection it can make it to Snowflake. As of now, I have make it one. That means it will create one connection. It will, because it did this sequential, right? One after another, right? This is not something parallel we are running here. So that is fine. But now our use case here is I need to run all these all these files parallelly. Okay. So let's take a difference. Now I have just a concurrent connection as one. Okay. You see, though it has generated the concurrent connection, but still, okay, SA pointer 2. Oh, did I change that? Uh, Let me try it out one more time. So see, even if I have made the concurrent connection, but still those were did not trigger in parallelly. Uh, yes, okay. Okay, so these executed in sequential manner. Okay, because it has executed first, let's say this or this. So any query can be sent first. Okay, so there is no control on Matillion that only the orders query will be sent first, or the orders can change. It can send first the people and all. Okay, now
Where we could see like that job has run parallelly or sequentially.
yeah, yeah. So see, since this job, right? So it has very less data. That's why we couldn't see that immediately. Okay, and since our warehouse is on, right? So it immediately run this sequentially. Okay. Now what I was trying to say, if we make this concurrent connection to three, okay, that means within a job. Okay, this is within a job. Okay, the number of concurrent connection per running job. If I make it to three, it can load even faster. But this difference you will observe when you are loading the data, right? If you see it now, the job has completed within 3 seconds and it took 4.2 seconds, right? And all these three queries have been parallelly fired to Snowflake.
Where we can
Oh,
see Nitin, actually this job
yeah.
ran
So
parallelly.
yeah. So no, no. So it's internal to Matillion. Okay. So it's not something that you can see whether your queries are running in parallel or not. But so it's internal to Matillion. If you define your concurrent connection as three, then it will run three. If you again come back to two, let's say, what it will do, it will run two jobs parallelly. I mean, it will send two queries parallelly to Snowflake for execution. Okay. Now it has taken little more time. Okay, right. So it is even though if you make this as concurrent and your concurrent connection in the environment is not set to two or more like let's say 3, 4, 5, then you're not able to run this parallelly. Okay. Ideally the concurrency will happen, but only Snowflake will accept only one queries at a time. Okay, because Matillion that concurrent connection is only one per running job. Okay, right. Now what we can do, okay, so we have seen this, right, parallel. So either, so if we don't want to touch our existing environment, we can use this environment to load it, right? Let's say I have made it to three. I think yesterday also we have seen that, right? So I can run it in different environment. Yeah, so it has triggered all the queries parallelly. Okay, so this is how the concurrency should work, or concurrency would work. Okay, yeah. Any question here?
No, I think this is
Yeah,
clear. I think we need some practice on this, but it's clear.
Yeah.
yeah.
Nitin, like actually, like it will work out for a direct load. Okay. If I want to apply any like in transformation, like for even normally for direct load also we may require, right? Sometimes, right? Not like in detail logics and all. Like
No, that
one or handling nulls.
transformation, yeah,
Let's say
transformation
handling nulls.
yeah, transformation you cannot apply on this category, on at least on S3 bucket while loading from the file, right? So you cannot apply any transformation. But what
No,
you can
normally
apply,
my requirement, like direct mapping also there might be nulls. So just I need to apply only nulls.
no, so that is not possible while loading the file from Snowflake to S3. Sorry, from S3 to Snowflake. The transformation you cannot apply. Then you will have to create another transformation job and then get whatever you required and apply your transformation. Having said that, if you use, let's say, if you want to pull the data from a database query, okay, so you can write that SQL here, right, based on what you need to get the data, or if you want to concatenate your first name, last name. So based on the source database, uh, syntax, you can write that. So
Right.
you have
It
that
is
as
possible. It is possible through table. For
table,
example, I
not
have a
through file.
file. A
No,
file in the sense might be like, for example, they are going to change by using Unix.
that
Even though
means,
initial load also by using Unix, they can filter out.
yeah. So through a Matillion component, it is not possible. Yeah, you can see some of the things which you cannot achieve using Matillion component. You always have a feasibility to execute your Python or Bash scripts or the Unix scripts, right? So you can do that. But if you say directly, I need to use S3 load component and I need to transform some data, so that is not possible because it's not the Matillion restriction. If you see what Matillion does, S3 component, S3 load component, internally it's a copy command of Snowflake. So does copy command of Snowflake allows you to transform your columns? I don't think so, right? That is why. Okay, yeah, okay. What's the time now? 9:24. Yeah. So I think we can stop here and let's connect tomorrow and we'll see some advanced, uh, one more concept which is left in the grid variable. So we'll see that tomorrow. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sure. So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. Thank you all. So we'll see tomorrow a little bit of advanced concept on the grid variable. So today we have seen the job variables and how we can use those job variables and the majority of the grid variable concept, right?
Okay.
Okay. So let's
Can
connect
you,
tomorrow, same time.
sure.
Yeah.
Can you have the admin share this video? Because I think there's too much information in today's
Yes.
class.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because this is pretty important. Okay, now till tomorrow you will get to know the basic things which we need to use in Matillion. Okay, and let's say from Monday or Tuesday we'll use some of the other things, kind of external data loading and administration part and all. Okay, and
Yep.
believe me, this is all things which are getting used in the real-time project. Okay, but instead of just two components, they will have 10, 20 components. The similar components, they will have five grid variables just on the larger scale, but the implementation is pretty similar. Okay, yeah. Okay, guys. So thanks for joining today's call.
Yeah.
Let's see you
Thanks,
tomorrow.
Nitin.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you.